probably about 100,000 employees, probably about 200,000 people altogether, including outsourcers, offshorers. It's an international global company, it's a Swiss bank. I'll be talking about their authentication products in general, what was previously SiteMinder, Authminder, some of the risk-based authentication products that they have. I think that the mainstream use that we have for the products are probably around web single sign-on. So being able to sign on to applications and the users not having to authenticate again. One of the good features we get out of the product as well is to be able to include different authentication methods. So we use username and password, but we also use smart card authentication, which is very key to our company. Two-factor authentication based on a hard token, effectively. Yeah, I mean, the main thing, I guess, is, well, two things. One is end-user experience, so single sign-on. So before the product was introduced, we had multiple sign-ons to different applications. End users had to enter their username and password multiple times. Now, of course, with single sign-on, they enter it once, and then during that session, they no longer need to authenticate again. The second thing I think that's important is also security. So it's a secure product. We can make use of two-factor authentication with the product. And so from a security perspective, it gives us strong authentication. Our solution has to be basically 99.99% available, which means we have to have the highest availability out of the product that you can get really from an IT system. So we have deployed it in a very highly resilient and with a very strong BCM component. So ability to fail over within a data center and the possibility of failing over between countries and data centers. It scales to meet our needs, yes. I mean, we have 200,000 users. That's not simultaneous or you know, not all using it at once, but certainly it scales to that. There are advanced features that would mean that we need to look at scalability. So it does authentication, does also authorization. If there is heavy authorization traffic, then we really need to also look at how we scale that up. I mean, it can scale. It's just a question of putting in more servers, putting in more infrastructure to allow it to scale. To be honest, I don't get involved with the operations side too much. I'm an IT architect, so I look at the overall architecture of the system and how to introduce new requirements and how they can get fulfilled. But my impression certainly is that the support's good. I mean, it has to be very good because we have a 99.99% availability. So, you know, if it wasn't good, we would have moved off it by now. I would say it's a relatively complex setup. I mean, we have a relatively complex environment. So with all of the availability requirements we have, it is quite complex. But having said that, it's no more complex than any other enterprise system that has to be highly available. I wouldn't say it was overly complex, but there is complexity in it. One of the reasons why we're here today is also to understand what features there are in the future. I think for me, as an architect, I look at what the emerging trends are. We have a lot of new requirements. Mobility is a big one for us. Bring your own device, being able to authenticate on mobile devices securely, being able to make use of multiple application types on that mobile device, being able to integrate with containers like Good, for example, Citrix. Also with the changing operating models we have, a lot of outsourcing, a lot of software as a service. We need to be able to improve how we have authentication into the cloud, so federation capabilities, that sort of thing. So yeah, there's a lot that we can do to go forward. At this point, about 8. One of the biggest things is availability. You really have to, availability, scalability, you really have to make sure you understand the scale of the deployment and what your requirements are around availability. Certainly in our company, it has to be the highest scale, highest availability. So don't underestimate the amount of testing you have to do, the amount of stress testing, load testing, because this is critical infrastructure. This really is the front door to all the applications in the bank. And if this goes down, the bank stops working. So quite simply, you have to make sure that you do all of the testing required to make sure that the product is absolutely rock solid. I think it's very important. I mean, you need to do your due diligence. You need to do your research into what is out there and what is best to meet your requirements. That said, I think there's nothing really that can replace doing a proof of concept. You have to do a proof of concept, because no matter what the vendor says, no matter what other people say, other blogs or other reviews, your environment is always going to be unique, and there's always going to be something that you need that maybe other people haven't done before. Okay, be that some authentication method, some authorization method, the number of people you have, your topology of your network. There's always going to be something. So take all of the other information in, but you must verify it yourself. I think you have to really understand supportability, quality of the product. So you have to trust the quality of the development methods, the testing, that it scales to how you want it to scale, that you've got examples of the product being deployed in similar types of organization, similar sizes and similar industry. It's important. Yeah, I mean, I think they're the main things really.